Here's the week 4 games you didn't see: Minnesota Vikings, Pittsburgh Steelers in a 13-6 all-out defensive battle. And it was Jalen Nailor catching the lone touchdown here to put the Vikings up 7-3, and they never looked back. A lot of sacks here. Big part of the reason why the Vikings had so many sacks is because they made a playbook change defensively, going with the Eagles. And even though they also made a scheme change on offense and gave the quarterback look for stars, it still did not help them score a lot of points versus a really good defense. So this was a defensive battle, true, and maybe there is hope for defense in this league after all. Next, the Texans won 34-6 over the Titans. They moved to 4-0. They're really good on defense and now really good on offense because they're in the vertical power run for the Chargers offense. 4-3 cover 3 for Houston. You have Stroud, 258 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nick Chubb, 14 for 53 on the ground, 6 for 33 for the Chenault on the ground. Nico Collins, 7 for 113 and a touchdown. And Dalton Schultz also caught a touchdown, 7 for 50 and a touchdown. And, of course, when you look at their defense, they got after it. Well, 2 sacks for Will Anderson, 1 for Bullock, 1 for Hunter, and an interception for Al Shazier. Now let's jump to the Falcons and the Commanders. Falcons winning their second in a row, beating the desperate Commanders. This comes after they changed their offense last week to the vertical zone run scheme, and New England's 3-4 under. Big story here is Bijan Robinson following up his big week last week where he won Offensive Player of the Week with another touchdown and 73 yards. And also Justin Watson out of nowhere getting a touchdown in this one. Plus, when you look at the defense, we got a bunch of sacks. Floyd, Pierce, Walker, Harrison, and an interception for Divine Diablo. And then we have the Bills laying boots to asses to the Saints, going 3-1, 34-11. They're in the spread. Buffalo offense, 4-3 under. I like both of these in quick sim, so I tried it out in slow sim, working very well. But also the big story here is the change to Josh Allen. We put risk taker on him, changed a bunch of his traits, and it really paid off. So when you take a look at his stats here, 240 yards passing, 3 passing touchdowns, 1 interception, 22 for 27. On the ground, he was 9 for 113 and a rushing touchdown. And then looking at his receivers, Brandon Cooks was 5 for 72 and a touchdown. Dalton Kincaid had 4 for 55 and a touchdown. Palmer 3 for 41. Shakir 6 for 32. And then down here, Keon Coleman had the lone 8-yard touchdown. And defensively, looking at the sacks, 2.5 for Greg Rousseau. We had a sack and a half for Joey Bosa, a sack for Ed Oliver, half a sack for Deion Walker, the rookie, and an interception for Christian Benford. All right, so let's keep it rolling here. We got the Bears going on the road, winning 28-21 over the Raiders. They're in that West Coast power run. Chicago offense, 4-3 under for the Chicago defense. Caleb Williams, 157 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Manungai came in. He had 15 for 64 on the ground. Caleb Williams had 7 for 34 on the ground and a touchdown. Cole Kmet, the leading receiver, at 7 receptions for 54, followed by Odunze, Manungai, and Burton had 5 for 19. And then when you look at the defense here, Trey Edmonds, Grady Jarrett, Joe, Dexter Sr., and then you have 2 interceptions, one by Kevin Byard and TJ Edwards. Got another good one here, 31-24. The 49ers went over the Jaguars. 49ers are in one of my favorite playbooks, both offensively and defensively. For this game, we moved them to the West Coast zone run, and of course, we fixed Brock Purdy. Didn't do Brock Purdy the best, as you'll see in his stats here. He was 24 for 32, 248 yards, and an interception. But Christian McCaffrey, 12 carries, 125 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, and when you look at his receiving numbers, 9 for 84. He was the leading receiver. He's just absolutely incredible. Ayuk had 5 for 60. Kittle 3 for 45. Pearsall 3 for 21. And then when we take a look at the defense, Martin had a sack. Bosa had a sack. Givens had a sack. And then 1 interception going to Jair Brown. Chiefs, Ravens, nothing really to talk about here except for defense. We moved the Chiefs into the base 4-3 of Cincinnati before this game. As you can see, neither quarterback played well at all. Both had 2 interceptions, and that was all she wrote. Last game here, the Bengals go on the road, win 31-17. against the Broncos. Joe Burrow, 337 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 28 for 32. Chase Brown was 11 for 47 on the ground and a touchdown. Jamar Chase, 6 for 99, 2 touchdowns. Gesicki at 7 for 97. Higgins, 4 for 58. Yoshi Voss, 6 for 49. Brown also had 2 catches for 13 yards and a couple other randoms there. And then as far as defense goes, only 1 sack combined between Osai and Hill, and then an interception for DJ Turner and Oren Burks. And when we look at the standings through 4 weeks, we have the Eagles that are 4-0, the Bengals are 4-0, the Patriots are 4-0, Texans are 4-0, and then you have the Chargers, Bills, 49ers, Lions, all at 3-1. Looking at the bottom feeders, you got the Commanders and Panthers at 0-4, Raiders, Packers, Rams, Jaguars, Jets, Cardinals, Browns, and Broncos all only have 1 win. The most points has been scored by the Dolphins, the Lions, the Cowboys, the Seahawks. Eagles and Chargers are tied. Then you have the Texans. The least amount scored has been the Bengals, the Texans, the Steelers, the Bills, and the 49ers. As far as the stats go, Justin Herbert is number 1 in passing with 1,400 yards, followed by Sam Darnold with 1,308. Jared Goff 1 yard behind him with 1,307. Joe Burrow 1,206. Jalen Hurts 1,107. 1,072 for the rookie Jackson Dart. 1,039 for Bo Nix. Bryce Young's right behind him with 1,018. Patrick Mahomes has 1,002 yards. The most attempts goes to Jared Goff. The most completions also goes to Jared Goff. The most passing touchdowns is Dak Prescott with 12, and he only has 1 interception. 10 for Darnold, Goff, Herbert, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, and Josh Allen. The leader in interceptions is Lamar Jackson, which is insane. Then you have a bunch of guys with 6. So interceptions are definitely up this season compared to our first slow sim season. Rushing leaders, first of all, attempts goes to Bijan with 76, followed by Christian McCaffrey, Tony Pollard, and then you have Bucky Irving and Travis Etienne tied with 66. Most rushing yards, Johnny Taylor, 568, followed by Bijan Robinson, Christian McCaffrey, Bucky Irving, Jaylen Warren. Most touchdowns by a running back, 6 for Bijan, 5 for Barkley, 5 for Trevor Lawrence sneaking in there. Then you have Jonathan Taylor, Devon Achane, and Justin Fields has another 4. As far as yards for rushing quarterback, you got Justin Fields with 291 and Lamar Jackson with 292. Now let's talk about the wide receivers. Most receptions goes to Jackson Smith-Njigba, Rashee Rice, Puka Nacua, Emeka Ibuka, and Ladd McConkey. Most of these guys are in the slot except for Ibuka. And as yards go, it's Jackson Smith-Njigba. Check out that Seattle Seahawks game. Then you got Christian Watson, who's just 18 receptions for 417 yards. Plus he has a return kickoff for a touchdown, which is crazy. Amon-Ra St. Brown has 397 yards, followed by Nico Collins, Jamar Chase. Both these guys play on the outside, and then touchdowns goes to Jackson Smith-Njigba and Rashee Rice, who did 4 of those touchdowns in week 1, and a bunch of guys with 4 touchdowns. Defensively, leader in tackles is Roquan, followed by Al Shazier, Edgerrin Cooper, Eldon Roberts on the Raiders, Drew Tranquill, and Jalen Thompson. Most tackles for loss. This is still an issue, but it is what it is. TJ Watt has 15, Micah Parsons 14, Milton Williams 14, Max Crosby 13, and Montez Sweat with 12. And then sack leaders, another little bit of an issue, but it is what it is. Max Crosby has 9.5 sacks. He's got most of those over the last 2 weeks after they were put into the Bengals defense. Micah Parsons 9, Milton Williams has 7, Jeffrey Simmons has 7, Bradley Chubb has 6.5. And interception leader is Rasul Douglas. So that Miami defense is a little bit of, doing pretty well. Then you have 3 for Trent McDuffie, 3 for Nick Emamari, who's an awesome rookie, and 3 for I cannot say this name. Divine Diablo. And then when we look at ranks, we have the Chargers, the number one offense, followed by the Eagles, Lions, Seahawks, and Bengals. The 5 worst are the Commanders, Bears, Vikings, Steelers, and Saints. Most pass yards, we've already pretty much done that. But the least pass yards is the Steelers, Bears, Vikings, Titans, and Raiders. The most rush yards as a team goes to the Colts, followed by the Ravens, Falcons, Buccaneers, and Eagles. The least, the Commanders, the Packers, the Chiefs, the Rams, and the Cowboys. And this is why these two are really struggling here. None of these guys are above 500 points per game. Dolphins 34 points, followed by the Lions, Cowboys, Seahawks, Eagles, Chargers, and Texans. Most passing touchdowns, we've kind of already done that, but the least goes to the Steelers. That has 1 passing touchdown, 3 for the Titans, 4 all tied for Saints, Falcons, Ravens, and Jaguars. Most rushing touchdowns as a team goes to the Eagles, followed by the Dolphins, Falcons, Jaguars. Most first downs, Chargers have 96, Eagles have 95, followed by the Lions with 88, 86 for Seahawks, 84 for the Bills. And when we look at these teams defensively, the ranks right here, the least amount of yards, total defense goes to the Buccaneers, followed by the Bengals, followed by the Eagles, Steelers, Falcons. The most, the Browns, the Panthers, the Chiefs, the Rams, the Broncos. Who's going to have the most passing yards? That's the Browns, the Chargers. The Chargers, that's what happens when you score a ton of points. Giants, Cowboys. The least goes to the Vikings, Falcons, Bengals, and Buccaneers. This Bengals defense is really good at stopping the pass, whether it's interceptions, sacks, or just limiting passing yards. The least rushed on team has been the Giants, Chargers, Steelers, Bears, Ravens, and Eagles. And then you have the Panthers giving up the most rushing yards, followed by the Vikings, Rams, Cardinals, Broncos, Dolphins, and Packers. The least amount of points given up, the Bengals, the Texans, the Steelers, the Bills, and the 49ers. And then the most points given up, the Panthers, the Jets, the Cardinals, the Packers, the Dolphins. Dolphins are just outscoring people. Most sacks by a team, the Patriots have 21, Buccaneers, Vikings, Seahawks, and Titans all tied with 19. The least amount goes to the Chiefs with 5. They are 2-2 though. Colts only have 7. Browns only have 7. What's going on here? We need to get more for our man. And the most interceptions, Browns, Texans, Dolphins, Chiefs, Seahawks. And the least, the Commanders have 1. The Rams have 1. The Giants have 1. So that's pretty much it. That wraps it up for us. Hope you enjoy. See you in week 5. Let me know what you think. Please like and subscribe. And we'll see you very soon. Peace.